Across East Asia, there's this figure who really just embodies the very essence of compassion, a being who is said to hear every single cry of suffering in the world. Now, they're known by many names, but today, in this explainer, we're going to try and understand the story behind just one, Guan Yin.
So our whole journey today really kicks off with a question. And what's cool is, it's not my question, it's one that was asked of the Buddha thousands of years ago in the ancient Lotus Sutra. Why on earth is this bodhisattva named Guan Yin the perceiver of the world's sounds?
A classic poem gives us a really beautiful hint. It paints this picture not of some distant, untouchable god, but of an active, totally responsive force. And that idea of a vessel that can ferry us across a sea of suffering, well, that's absolutely central to understanding who Guan Yin is.
All right, Section 1, a bodhisattva's name. So what's really in that name? The poem mentioned a vessel, but the name itself points to something even more basic, listening. What does it actually mean to perceive the sounds of the entire world?
The Buddha's answer in the sutra is incredibly direct and powerful. He basically says that if any living being is going through any kind of suffering, and they just wholeheartedly call out Guan Yin's name, that bodhisattva will instantly perceive their sound, their cry for help, and they'll be liberated. I mean, that's a radical promise. Just the idea of being truly heard.
So, Section 2, answering cries for help. What does this liberation actually look like? Well, the text doesn't just leave it as some abstract concept. It gives these unbelievably vivid, almost cinematic examples of this power in action, and it covers everything from external dangers to our own internal battles.
The sutra sets up these incredibly dramatic scenes. So first, I want you to just imagine being pushed into a giant pit of fire, a completely terrifying, hopeless situation where it feels like there is no way out.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the main idea. By the power of calling on, or even just thinking of Guan Yin, the very nature of the disaster changes. The source of your suffering, the fire, literally becomes a source of relief, a cool pond. It's about total transformation, not just escape.
Okay, here's another one. This one feels a little more grounded in the real world, right? You've got a group of merchants, miles from anywhere safe, and suddenly they're surrounded by armed robbers. They are outnumbered and they are facing certain ruin, or worse.
Now, the result here is what's so fascinating to me. The danger isn't just magically blocked. Instead, the hearts of the bandits are changed. They are suddenly overcome with compassion. This shows a much deeper kind of power, one that doesn't just protect the victim, but actually transforms the very source of the harm.
But look, this power isn't just for external stuff like fire and bandits. The ancient texts say it also works on our inner struggles, what in Buddhism are called the three poisons. We're talking about those destructive patterns of obsessive desire, consuming anger, and just deep confusion. For anyone who's caught in those states, calling on Guan Yin is said to bring clarity and peace.
Okay, Section 3, Faces of Compassion. So, we know that Guan Yin hears and responds, but how? This is where the teaching gets even more profound. The response isn't some one-size-fits-all solution.
This number is key. According to the text, Guan Yin can manifest in at least 32 different forms to help people in the most effective way possible. And this isn't about wearing a disguise. It's all about making a genuine connection.
This whole ability is based on a core Buddhist idea called skillful means. You could think of it as the ultimate form of empathy in action. It's not just about what you say, it's about adopting your entire message so the other person can truly hear it in a form they can actually understand and accept.
And this is the whole point, adaptability. If a community needs a leader, Guan Yin might show up as a king. If someone just needs some down-to-earth advice, maybe as a neighbor or a friend. If they're looking for deep spiritual insight, then as a monk or a nun. The form always fits the need.
So, Section 4, the vow of a prince. All of this raises a huge question, right? Where does this boundless compassion even come from? Well, the answer is in an origin story, from long before the events we've been talking about. But first, we need to get our heads around the concept of a bodhisattva vow. It's one of the most selfless ideas imaginable. You achieve the highest state of enlightenment, but you choose to stay in this world of suffering out of pure compassion, just to help everyone else get there first.
The story goes that eons and eons ago, Guan Yin was a prince named Buxuan. He was born into a world where a Buddha was teaching, and he was just deeply, profoundly moved by those lessons.
And right there,
In front of that Buddha, Prince Boksoon made this unbelievable vow. He essentially tied his own ultimate spiritual destiny to the well-being of every other person. He literally refused to accept his own final peace as long as anyone else was still suffering. That vow became the engine of his compassion.
So, Section 5. Why this still matters. How does this ancient story connect to our lives today? Well, because beyond the mythology, this is a powerful roadmap for empathy that anyone can understand no matter what their beliefs are.
We can pretty much translate these concepts into modern universal values. The idea of perceiving the world sounds, well, that's a powerful call for radical empathy and deep listening to truly hear what others need. And the 32 manifestations, that perfectly describes the skill of meeting people exactly where they are, adapting how we approach them so we can truly connect and help.
So, at the end of the day, the crucial point isn't about whether fire pits literally turn into ponds. The story of Guan Yin is this profound and enduring metaphor for an ideal human quality: active, responsive compassion. It's the commitment to not just hear suffering, but to act skillfully, to actually do something about it.
And so the story of Guan Yin really leaves us with a question to take with us. What would change in our own families, in our communities, in our world, if we all try to truly perceive the sounds around us and respond not just with pity, but with skillful compassion? Thanks for joining me for this one.